Welcome back to Biology in Your Backyard.
I'm Dr. Mark Johnson.
I'm Tamarack.
I'm May. And I'm Oscar.
And today is about trees in your neighborhood. And this is our second last Biology in Your Backyard episode. So I hope you enjoy this one and stay tuned for the last one, which is coming soon. Let's all go for a walk.
Let's go!
There's two general types of trees that we're going to be seeing. One group of trees are the conifers, and they have different types of needles that they usually hold, but not always, and Tamarack will tell us about that later, but usually hold them all year round. And so people often call them evergreens, but they're all related in this big group called the conifers. And another thing about conifers is they all produce some type of cones, like you see here. The female cone is on the right there. They produce the seeds, and the male cone are those little yellowish brown ones on the left. The other group of trees are part of what we refer to as the flowering plants, and they usually have big, broad leaves, and we often call them broadleaf trees. And because these trees almost always lose their leaves in the fall time, we call them deciduous. So on this walk around our neighborhood, we're going to introduce you to the top 10 trees that we think everyone should know in Canada and northeastern United States. So let's start counting down for the top 10 trees. Here we go.
Number 10. These are white pine. And the way you tell is, one of the ways, if you touch them, you'll notice that the needles are actually quite soft and medium in length. Another thing about the needles is that they're always in clusters of 5. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. White pine is the only pine around here that has needles in clusters of 5. And also you'll notice that the cones are actually rather long. One of the cool things about white pine is that it's actually really important to Canada's history. It's one of the reasons that early settlers came over, because lumberjacks would cut them down and then use them to make the masts of tall mast ships, because their trunks are so straight and tall. And they can get really big. And they can get even bigger. Number 9.
This tree here is called white spruce. It's a coniferous tree. It has needles. The newer needles have a white tinge to them, and the needles themselves are rounded. And if you look at the branch closely, you'll see that the needles go all the way around in a circular fashion. And one really cool thing about white spruce, like this one, is that they're really important to the pulp and paper industry. The long fibers in their wood make really strong paper.
Number 8.
And this tree is red oak. And what's really distinctive about their leaves is they have these big, sharp teeth and deep lobes that come in to these leaves. And so the combination of these lobes, these big teeth, make it a red oak. And an important thing about the biology of red oaks is that their acorns are a really important source of food for many different animals in the forest. Squirrels, chipmunks, mice, even bear and deer will use the acorns from red oak.
Number 7. And this is birch. The most distinctive feature of birch is, of course, the color of the tree. You can see it's pure white, maybe a little bit of gray. It has basically dashes along. And you can also see that the birch is very peely. So this is like its skin. And this one's really long. So you can see on the underside it's nice and smooth, a little bit more beige. You can see the papery outside. You can tell that this is a birch leaf because you can see they have teardrop shapes, but they have jagged edges. Did you know that birch bark makes a very good kindling to start a fire?
And First Nations people and people today still use birch bark to make canoes because the bark is so waterproof.
Number 6.
And this is sumac. And you can recognize it because a single leaf has approximately between 9 and 15 leaflets, as you can see here. On new growths of the Staghorn Sumac, they're also generally really hairy. And this is what the berries look like.
A really cool thing about the biology of the Staghorn Sumac is that they have separate sexes. An individual plant is either female, like this one, or male. Most plants are in fact hermaphrodite. They're both male and female at the same time. But you can tell that this one's a female because it has these big fruits. And this entire cluster is actually the exact same plant. They're all one clone. And so they'll all be female. If we go a little further down, we can probably find a male. Notice how this sumac here doesn't have any fruit. In fact, the male flowers clusters are just starting to come out. Compare that to the plant right beside it that has all of those fruits, red fruits on it. That's the female.
Number 5.
This tree here is called white cedar. You can identify it because its needles are arranged in flat, smooth sheets. And here, you can see their cones. They're very tiny. Now looking at the bark, you can see it's kind of a reddish color, and it's almost fuzzy when you touch it, and it can come off in strips. One really cool thing about white cedars is that they live for a really long time, sometimes hundreds of years. The oldest tree was found in the Niagara Escarpment, and it was found to be 700 years old.
Number 4.
This is trembling aspen. You can recognize it because, as its name indicates, the leaves tend to tremble, kind of like this. The leaves are kind of teardrop shaped almost, as you can see, and the reason they tremble is because their stem, their leaf stem, otherwise known as a petiole, is flat, and that makes them tremble as opposed to just kind of blow in the wind. Now, one cool thing about the trembling aspen is they're really quick to colonize fields and also like recently burnt areas. And the reason they're so quick to colonize is because they send up shoots from larger trees. So these trees down here are all shoots from the larger trees.
Number 3.
And this is beech. You can tell it's an American beech because the bark is smooth like the trunk of an elephant. And then, if you look at its leaves, it has another distinctive feature. You can see it has teeth on the leaf, and one vein goes to one tooth. That is how you can tell this the leaf of a beech. Here's an interesting fact about beech trees. Did you know that bears love beech nuts? So they'll go up in a tree and they'll start ripping off branches to get at those beech nuts. When they come down, they'll leave all the branches in the tree. So it looks like a big, massive, messy nest. And that's what we call a bear's nest.
Number 2.
This is one of the most fantastic trees in eastern Canada. This is sugar maple. You can recognize all maples because their leaves come out opposite to one another, meaning that wherever you get one leaf, you get another leaf coming off at the same point. Their leaves are shaped like a hand, and the sugar maple tends to have 11 points. So let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
So did you know that sugar maples are actually what we get our maple syrup from? That's so cool.
And number 1.
Now, a plant that's often confused for sugar maple is one that you may have planted around your home, and that is Norway maple. As the name suggests, it's not from Canada or the United States, it's from Europe. And you can recognize them because they have many more points on their leaves. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Lots of points. So if we compare the sugar maple to the Norway maple, they look pretty similar, but they differ with respect to the number of points they have. Another way you can distinguish the sugar maple from the Norway maple is because there's kind of three major parts on the leaf of the sugar maple. 1, 2, 3. But if you look at the Norway maple, there's 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And now it's time for your nature fact of the day. Did you know? My name's not really Tamarack, but this is a tamarack tree. You'll see its needles come in little bunches. It has these teeny tiny little cones, and the really cool thing about it is that you're looking at it thinking, oh, that's an evergreen, but it's not. Tamarack trees lose their needles every fall, just like a maple tree, for example, would. And they grow them back every spring.
We hope you enjoyed this video on biology in your backyard about trees.
And be sure to hit that subscribe button for more content like this.
And give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it.
See you next time!